I'd like to call the May 9th, 2022 Board of Commissioners work session to order. As always, we're going to begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. And tonight, we have a special guest, Dave Honorato, who is going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Deanna, will you do the roll call?
Denise Hall, President.
Here.
Catherine Carter, Vice President. Liz McNaney, Commissioner.
Here.
Martha Similaro, Commissioner.
Here.
Ruth Damsker, Commissioner.
Here.
Sandra Zadell, Township Manager.
Here.
Megan Weaver, Assistant Township Manager.
Here.
Lauren Gallagher, Township Solicitor.
Here.
Isaac Kessler, Township Engineer.
Here.
David Duffy, Chief of Police.
Here.
Nathan Crittenton, Finance Director. Van Reeker, Zoning Officer.
Here.
Thank you, Deanna. Next up, I'm going to turn it over to our Chief of Police. Yes, please.
You didn't bring your pen with you, though.
Can you hold it? Sorry.
Oh, okay. Ah, this isn't, I feel like I'm holding an Academy Award or something. All right. Here to recognize Dave Honorato for his assistance in the community, particularly with the Volunteer Medical Service Corps. And want to recognize that we have several of my fellow board members of VMSC here in the audience. You can put your hand up. Awesome. Thank you for coming. And I'd like to have Chief Shane Wheeler of VMSC join me up front, please. And Dave's family's here, front row seats. This is a commendation from the Board of Commissioners. I just happen to be the one who's reading it off to you. So Dave, please come on up. You have to forgive me. I'm going to have to hold like three things at once. So
Chief,
yeah, that's perfect.
Commissioner Carter is going to join you as well.
Oh, please. Absolutely.
Or Dave.
How many more mics do we have? I'm just kidding. I'll do my best. It's okay. And joining us is Commissioner Carter, our commissioner who's assigned to public safety. So there's some whereas and therefores and stuff, and bear with me. It's a bit much to read, but I think it's all completely worth it. So whereas David C. Honorato, Esquire, is an Upper Gwynedd Township resident, a principal in the law firm of Vladeck, Honorato and Fetterman, located in the township, and a former Upper Gwynedd Township solicitor. He's a member of the Montgomery County, Pennsylvania, and American Bar Associations, a past president of Montgomery County Trial Lawyers Association, and a member of Pennsylvania Trial Lawyers Association. Before moving to Upper Gwynedd Township, Mr. Honorato lived in Towmenton and was the township supervisor. He also served as a member and chairman of the Towmenton Township Planning Commission. Mr. Honorato is a member and past president of the Morgan Log House Historical Society. He's been a volunteer of the North Penn YMCA for over 30 years and has served as a member of the Board of Directors, Board of Trustees, past president, and solicitor. In addition to these accomplishments and community service activities, Mr. Honorato has volunteered and served as a member of the Board of Directors of the Volunteer Medical Service Corps of Lansdale, is the organization's solicitor. His grandfather, Luigi Honorato, was a prominent Lansdale businessman and ardent supporter of VMSC. His father, Dr. Michael Honorato, was a VMSC volunteer for over 75 years. That's not a typo. That's 3/4 of a century. He held the titles of Commander, President, Life Member, Chairman, and Chairman Emeritus. The Honorato family has an esteemed legacy with VMSC. Whereas in the last year, VMSC has undergone through significant positive changes that included restructuring of the bylaws and the entire organization. The first full-time paid chief of EMS operations, Mr. Shane Wheeler, was hired in January and has led many important improvements in a relatively short time. Mr. Honorato applied his expertise as a board member and particularly his legal knowledge and expertise to support, shape, and facilitate these improvements to the service that VMSC provides to our community without the VMSC incurring significant legal costs. Therefore, Upper Gwynedd Township formally recognizes David C. Honorato for his contributions to the success of our partner first responding agency, VMSC of Lansdale, and his dedication to the safety and welfare of our residents in the entire North Penn community. There we go. You hold it. Yeah. All of them. Good? Yeah? Good? Okay, you want to say it first? Yeah, I'll just say a couple. Want me to hold this for you? I think I can hold it for myself.
And you all thought I was just a pretty face. Thanks, Chief. Chief Duffy's been a great asset to us on the VMSC board. I'm so glad I asked him to be on the board, and he's done wonders, bringing his perspective into the boardroom. So we had an organization that was struggling, and it was struggling because it was volunteer-led and going through a transition into a paid crew and now a paid chief. And we had to convince those that were those volunteers, those members, some of which had been involved a very long time, that it was time for a change. It's trying to change the organization and be the professional organization it needs to be to handle the type of calls and the activity that the medical corps has. And so we recognized that last year. Shane was hired in January. Chief Wheeler's been doing a great job. And with this change to the bylaws, finally we got adopted 2 weeks ago, I think it was. We're now able to finally take all the necessary steps to run it as a professional organization. And we're already seeing the benefits of Shane's expertise and professionalism here. We have 24/7 coverage. We've got 5 ambulances up and running at all times. It's a big difference from over just a year ago. So I'm glad I had a small part to play in all of that, bring my expertise to it, but couldn't have done it without the other board members that were all part of that decision-making process that kind of took the organization to the next step. So we're looking for great things from VMSC, and I just want to thank Chief for recognizing me today. It's very nice. Thank you all. Appreciate it.
And Dave, I just wanted to say that that's so great to hear. We love all this good news we're hearing about Shane. Thank you so much to all the board members. We really appreciate all the time that you're giving back to the community. But today is about you. And once again, as the chief said, some of you may not be aware, but he was the solicitor for a very long time in Upper Gwynedd, and he did a lot for us here. And once again, you're going above and beyond to give to the community, and we really appreciate that.
Well, thank you. And then one other thing. So in the boardroom, there are 3 portraits.
Hmm.
One is Dr. Boston, founder of
Oh, nice.
Mabel Reed is one of the other
Mm.
original founders. Stories of my dad.
Aw.
So I can't be there and not see him do what I think is the right thing.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you for sharing that with us, Dave. Thank you. And don't you guys feel like you have to stay for the rest of the meeting if you want to just scoot out, it's fine. Next up, we have the announcement of the executive sessions. Lauren Gallagher, were there any? Oh, sorry, wait, no, they are taking my device. No, that's next. Yes, yes, go ahead.
Thank you, President Hold. The board did meet in executive session earlier this evening to discuss items of personnel and potential litigation.
Thank you. Next up, we have our public comment section. If you didn't have time to register before the meeting, I will ask for additional participants at the end. Thank you in advance for respecting the 5-minute rule and practicing decorum. First up, we have Michael Fellman.
Good evening. Yeah, Michael
Good evening.
Fellman, 112 Cardinal Way.
Thank you.
My comments are towards decorum and how the public meetings are held. I don't know if it's Robert's rule or, but at the last public meeting with the 2040
Comprehensive plan?
comprehensive plan. There was a couple of comments made, actually, directly towards me. Some bicyclists said that, looked directly at me. And then also, I think, I know I made a comment towards Assistant Township Manager, which was wrong.
Oh.
And I believe that, I don't know if it's Robert's rule or if it's proper decorum of a public meeting, that all comments should be directed towards the bench. I mean the commissioners, and which keeps everything civil.
Right.
And I believe that's the way the meeting should be held. So that's all I have to say.
Okay. Thank you so much, Michael. Next up, we have Fred Henkin.
Need my address or is
Yes, please.
sufficient?
Yes, please.
Fred Hinkin, 802 Clover Drive.
Thank you.
I wasn't at the last meeting, unfortunately, but a resident had asked why there was an afternoon meeting on April 6th. If you'll recall, it was a 2 o'clock meeting. It was a meeting that
We
I
were talking
attended.
about our goals.
Mhm, mhm.
Yes.
And he commented on why there was no video cast. And both yourself and Ms. Liddell had commented that the ability to stream was limited that day. There would have to be additional costs incurred to video cast. Ms. Liddell went on to say that, quote, any special meetings we generally do not broadcast. Also, the Planning Commission, Zoning Hearing Board, I would say every zoning board meeting is a sensitive issue, but we don't stream those as well because it's an hourly rate. So I filed a right to know on the 20th of April requesting, quote, all paid invoices that UGT has paid for broadcast fees and any related costs associated with broadcasting monthly workshop and business meetings. I received a very prompt response the next day. Based on the invoices paid to Foster Media, it costs about $400 to broadcast a 2-hour meeting. It's interesting to note that on July 12th, a zoning board meeting was video cast at a cost of $400. Also on April 27th, January 26th, and February 23rd. There may have been some more in there, but I found 4 totaling over $1,200.
I'm sorry, you said planning commission meetings?
No, these are 4 zoning board meetings.
Zoning hearing board meetings?
Correct.
I can comment on that one, Mr.
Yeah,
Higgins completes.
if I'll finish, then I'd be
Sorry.
more than
Sorry to
happy.
interrupt
No,
you.
no, you're fine. It's good to have clarification. So to say that the township didn't have zoning board meetings that were video cast isn't true, but I think I know where you're going with this, but I just want to make that comment. The reason I'm bringing this up is not about the previous zoning board meetings really, but the fact that the Planning Commission meeting on 4/13, which I attended, was not broadcast. There were dozens of residents at this meeting. I know Denise, you and Ms. Hull and Ms. McNaney were there as well, who voiced concern regarding the reuse of the former ACT property on Morris Road. This was the third and final meeting that was to be held before a vote was to be taken for a recommendation to be submitted to the Board of Commissioners. So what I'm trying to understand is why meetings such as these should not be broadcast. So on the one hand, we're being told that it costs too much to broadcast these meetings, but I use the analogy of buying a car. You buy a car, do we not take into account the insurance for the car, the gas for the car, and other costs to the car? I mean, if we have we spent $22,600 on this equipment. Should we not be using it and spending that money perhaps to be more transparent, which we hear that all the time here. And quite honestly, the residents at the reserve, a lot of them are over 55. It's a 55 and over community, as many of you know or should know. I think it's fair to say that there may have been more residents at this meeting, but because of the time of day and perhaps health issues, they can't attend in person. Having this board meeting video broadcast might have been a better way for you to be more transparent for those residents, because I know there was a lot of concern a lot of them had about different issues. So I just want to get an idea as why these meetings can't be broadcast if we're saying we're transparent and we spent $22,640 on video equipment, why we can't be more transparent to our residents, especially the folks at the reserve who, as I said, some of them had trouble getting here. It was at night, it's dark, it's hard to see, and they have physical handicaps and so forth. I think a lot of them might want to watch this, the proceedings, because they had a vote afterwards, and it was a little contentious, but you know, it is what it is.
Right.
So that's
Right.
my comment.
It is this board's opinion that the extra meetings, aside from the work session and the business meeting that we have every month, would not be viewed enough to merit using the extra funds for that. That's just this board's opinion, based on the feedback we get as to how many people are interested in those meetings, how many people attend them, based on our social media numbers. But that's our opinion. We have your opinion. We will take note of that, and we will add it to any other people who feel the same way. And if it gets to a critical mass, then we will consider having it televised at other additional
And I
meetings.
think the fact that it was such an important meeting, because a lot of people had a lot to say, was very,
Right.
this room was full of people that
Yes.
had different
It was very-
opinions. And
Yes, it was very
was-
important to the
It
people
was
who live
very,
right
very
there.
critical. These
Yes, it
folks had
was.
some issues
Yes,
they
yes.
had.
Sandra, did you want to explain the zoning?
Yeah, and
ordinance?
I want to make a couple comments. First, Mr. Henkin, you know you can always call me to ask clarifying questions about open records request, and it would be helpful if you do that, because I could tell you.
I did file a right to know.
No, give me a phone call. I'm saying you should call me afterwards if you have any clarifying questions, because those zoning hearing board meetings that were cast were during COVID-19.
I'm aware of
when
that.
the emergency declaration was in place. Because you kind of said that I said something untrue, but what I should have possibly said the first time was after the COVID emergency
And
declaration
my intention was not to
expired, but I
cite-
don't try to, catch myself every time I speak.
And that was not my intention. I truly apologize.
And please in the
I think we
future,
have a
just give me
working
call.
relationship. You've been wonderful,
Okay.
by the
great.
way. She's
Okay.
great.
One more comment.
Go ahead.
I realized that as I was doing this,
Okay.
it appeared because of the dates went back
Yeah, the
so
dates are
far,
in
so-
2020, I think.
Again,
but-
I'm not, I'm
Yeah.
here just as a citizen, just expressing a concern.
And that's why I want to again offer, if you ever have any questions about the information that we send to you, just give me a call. I can clarify anything you'd
Great.
like.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
The other point, you had said something that I wanted to follow up on.
About there not being the interest.
Oh, okay, I lost, sorry.
Okay.
I have a
Well, if you think
migraine
of it.
tonight and I can't keep it all
If
together,
you think
but
of
I'll
it,
try.
if you think of it, she will add it. Was there anything else you wanted
No,
to bring up?
again, there was no intention to slight you, and I apologize if that's how it came. I think we have a very nice working relationship, and your staff's been great.
Thank you, Fred.
Thank you for your time.
Was there anyone else who wanted to make a comment who didn't have time to register?
I do have one more comment. Thank you. So Mike Falmouth, 112 Cardinal Way. Is the rules of Roberts control this, or? is
That's
there
what we
a
based it
certain
on, yes.
Decorum where all comments should be directed towards commissioners and not towards personal people?
The township has not formally adopted Robert's rules, nor has any municipality that I'm aware of. The procedures that we follow are loosely based on Robert's rules, but the board establishes its own procedure. Generally speaking, I believe all comments are typically directed to the board, and they'll answer questions as they're able to, or staff will. If they're not able to answer them, they'll get back to the person within a couple of days or however long it takes to do the research.
We typically try to do that. We will make a note of it. that you would prefer us to try extra hard to focus on that?
Thank you.
Sure. Okay, so let's move on since there's no one else. And by move on, I mean, I'm going to turn it over to Sandra Zadell.
Sure, thanks, Commissioner Hull. And I'm going to pivot immediately to Isaac. So, Megan, thank you. There's slides that Isaac's going to be going over. Something, this is definitely a brag session. I think one of the most positive things that Upper Gwynedd enjoys is our relationship with the residents, but also our relationship with Merck and the wonderful public-private partnership that we have with them. And Isaac is going to go over some recent changes that Isaac came up with. I have to give him all the credit for this awesome idea. So take it away, Isaac.
Thank you, Sandra. And for the engineering report this evening, we have our usual table for updates. I don't feedback there. Thank you. But we did want to highlight, as Sandra mentioned, a project that we had worked on with collaboration with the team at Merck, led by Mr. Doug Chubb and the good folks that we work with on a daily basis for the MS4 program and a lot of the stream bank and MS4 projects. So as you well know by now, the storms in 2020, August particularly, had severe flooding of the wastewater treatment plant. Haynes Run is the water body that goes behind the treatment plant and meets up with the Wissahickon Creek there. It's really right at the junction. So it's in a tight spot as far as stormwater coming down through the township goes, and there's a lot of critical infrastructure associated with the treatment plant. So after the storms in 2020 and the damage that was incurred there, we had two things happening. One was a sewer chamber project that was being done near the creek, and also just taking a look at what ways we could mitigate flooding and improve the situation. So hopefully that kind of damage doesn't happen in the future. So the project that was ongoing at the time, the sewer chamber project, had extra soil, and we utilized that to start to build up a berm between the creek and the treatment plant. And that's what you can see kind of in the first couple of pictures there, November 2020, starting to put some soil. And we had enough to raise it a bit. October, you could see kind of the height that is there. You can still see the fence, and that building is the first one that you come across at the treatment plant when coming from the creek. But our goal was to really get to a level where the floodwaters would be held at bay, and the floodwaters that came in during those tropical storms would need another at least 1.5 to 2 feet of height. So where to get the soil was the main question there. And through our MS4 meetings with Mark, that we look at different areas of the township for different projects on a regular basis, we identified areas that they had excess soil. And the trick, especially with DEP, is to get soil from one place to the other cleanly and through their process of having it tested and approved. And I just want to commend not only the team at Merck, but also Rebecca Mason, the director at the treatment plant, and really all the staff, Sandra as the manager, that were able to coordinate very smoothly. And what we were able to do was bring over about 500 tons of clean soil, approved soil, and build up the berm on average another 3 feet in height. So what we have pictured to the right there is in February 2022, when it was pretty much just finishing up with the placement of the soil, which has since been seeded and grass is growing now. But you can see the difference in height that we were able to build that up, which we're very excited about, and as exciting as a berm project can get. We wanted to share some of the photos that we have for that. So if you want to show the next slide here, just a few more photos. The 7th and the 8th of February was when most of the work was being done as far as transporting soil from Merck's campus to our site. And you can see really the height from the side view there that we were able to add. And the before, it was before the soil started being placed there. And after, you can really see I think the height that we were able to add to that berm between the creek and how high the water would have to get over that new berm. And then the last slide, just to show a before and after, not to bring up bad memories, but our 2020, that was in the storm. You can see the amount of water just really gushing into the plant. And the same fence and gate, the height now is almost and exceeding the height of the actual fence. So it really provides a much better barrier. And not that we can outsmart Mother Nature all the time, but we think it really gives our best chance to avoid that kind of damage going forward.
And in 2021 with Ida, the level of the water was just at the top of the previous berm. So we know that storms can breach the berm we had before. They probably, I hope they don't, probably could still breach this, but we're very lucky to have this collaboration with Merck and to be able to do something that was beneficial to both of our organizations. So
Why would you
Doug
say
Chubb
that out
is here.
loud, that could happen, Sandra? Why would you say that out
it
loud?
can, I think it
Why
can.
would you put that in the universe that could
Because
happen?
I am, as much as I pretend to be Mother Nature when we have beautiful weather at one of our township events, I always claim that it was my township manager hand that made that happen, but I'm not in control of the weather. But Doug Chubb from Merck is here in the audience just to signify the collaboration and the teamwork that we had together. So we wanted to say thank you to Merck for that collaboration.
And then moving forward, I'll just say that this was really our first main step at adding protection to the plant. As we've discussed before, some of the grant opportunities we're looking to pursue, and also some of the ones we've already gotten, focus on some flood mitigation efforts we'll do upstream a bit to hopefully curtail how much water actually arrives at once to this point near the treatment plant.
Thank
Any
you.
questions on the berm, I'd be happy to answer there. And then for just a couple other items on the engineering side that I wanted to highlight this month. One is the road program for this year, which we have in the agenda that will be coming up a little later. And really just kind of highlighting that that's on slate to move forward this month with moving towards the recommended award. And then part of that road program not only are repaving all the roads that we've been looking at, there's a group of ADA curb ramps that we'll be looking to construct, some of which are part of that Monco 2040 pedestrian improvement crossing that we received in conjunction with those intersections that the chief had put together that will improve those crossings. So the ramps are part of that, and then they'll have the illuminated signage as part of the rest of the grant. And we'll look to have a pre-construction meeting with the awarded contractor to have the work done throughout the summer. And as usual with our road program, we have in the contract that work is to finish with the road paving before the school year begins at the end of August. And lastly, I wanted to mention another collaborative effort that we had with the Parks and Rec Department with the leadership of Sarah Previs. We have coordinated with her to look at the landscaping on the embankments of the bridge, the SEPTA bridge over Sudley Town Pike, just around the corner here. I know it was a project kind of a long time coming, but working together, we were really able to kind of connect the dots and with the folks at SEPTA and at the township. And some of the plans have to still take root, but it looks, I think, much improved, and we're happy the way that came about leading into the summer here. It's a nice entryway to the township and a nice improvement to coming down Sudley Town Pike there.
It looks great. I'm so curious to follow it. Like every time I see it, it feels very satisfying. It seems so clean
Yeah.
and organized. And
Additionally,
managed.
it provides a lot of added safety for our staff. That's why it was in the budget. It looks nice, but also we had to climb up that embankment and weed whack like up that steep embankment over a roadway. So it's a huge plus now. And Isaac's firm took in those requests of like, we need things there that we don't have to mow and made it happen. And also made a great SEPTA contact to be able to make that happen as well.
If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thanks, Isaac.
Isaac.
Moving on, Van, you are up. Take a seat. Enjoy your new seat.
Thank you, Ms. Manager. Good evening, everyone. So, number 9 on the agenda, review of the zoning and planning. Wheatley Walk, we've talked about it previously, you know about it. It's the zoning, the plan's approved. You've approved it. It's in the recording process. Upon the submission of all the necessary contracts, Megan will approve the issuance of the first permits, and they'll be off and running. Demolition is complete. AKA the Jeppy property. Any questions about that? 3 acres? Okay. Next, map amendment, zoning map amendment was referred to previously during public comment. It has been through 8.5 hours of testimony and presentation to the Planning Commission. I might also add, for Fred, who may not be aware of it, the applicants took it upon themselves to actually meet with the, on a separate night with the residents of the reserve at Gwynedd. The hope was to have it at their building, but they were still under COVID limitations and that couldn't happen. That has been set, so it's a public hearing. It'll be advertised. Notice is sent. It's been scheduled for June the 7th at 6:00 p.m. in this room. And the proposal is to rezone what we know as the Axe building and the site of about 5.5 acres from LI Limited Industrial to IN Institutional. I think you've all heard plenty about that one so far. Also in the tentative stage is the zoning map and text amendment for 1500 Pembroke Parkway. That has been submitted, and we have prepared a draft ordinance in response to an applicant who has filed a plan commensurate with the comprehensive plan within the half-mile radius of the Pembroke rail station. And it would be a TOD, a transit overlay district. Still has a way to go. That draft will be reviewed by the Plan Review Committee. Subsequently, it'll be submitted to the County Planning Commission, the Township Planning Commission, and you all will have a chance to decide whether you would like to pursue it or not. Questions about that one? Okay, the rest are zoning hearing boards. 1346 East Prospect, that's the Sanctuary UMC Church. That's been continued twice. You know about it. Neighbors have been notified. They've elected to ask for the continuance so that they could retain counsel. I'm told they're doing it. Previously, you've authorized a solicitor to attend in, I guess, to comment on their proposal for the rapidity of the LED change. Ordinance calls for once every 4 hours. I think they're asking for once every 2 or 4 minutes. So I think that was the part of the application that was objected to, or at least you all had concern about. So that's been continued to May 31st. Previously, 736 Pineview Drive, that was heard in April 26th, approved with conditions by the zoning hearing board. That was a request for a small variance for a front yard dimensional variance and to construct a separate living area for a related family, a related party, AKA an in-law suite. It's actually attached to the house, unlike one that was previously objected to about 2 months ago at Shearer Street. So that was approved with the conditions noted at the zoning hearing board. 3 new ones, all residential for residential property. 1708 Saplee. This is a request to construct a variance. The positioning of the house is non-conforming as to required setback. So anything that they would want to put on the front of the house would, in this case, a front porch, would necessarily require a dimensional setback. That's one of the requests they're in for. The other one is to demolish an existing detached garage, build a new one at a height greater than the 14 feet currently allowed by zoning. Their request is to build that detached garage in the rear yard of approximately 17 feet 5 inches. Questions on that one? Another new one, it's lot 2. We think it's going to be the appropriate address when issued at building permit time is going to be 211 Gwynedd Avenue. The property is unusual in its shape. It meets the minimum requirement for R2. It's a pre-existing lot, was created a decade ago. The applicant has requested permission, a variance to have a front yard extend in, a front porch extend into the front yard setback, and a rear deck patio to extend into the rear yard setback. So it's a longer than, it's a wider than deeper kind of lot. And their reasoning will be that in order to build a single home that is commensurate with the marketplace and the price points that are necessary, they would require those dimensional variances. The house itself, the footprint itself, will comply with the required front and side yards that are accorded to it's the R2 district. Questions on that one? And then finally, another new one, 7 Maple Street. This is a request, single-family dwelling to provide an addition that would extend into the rear yard. What they're proposing is to build a therapy pool. The therapy pool would be contained within a building as for a young child. And that's a dimensional variance to permit the rear yard addition to extend into the required rear yard. All of those that I previously mentioned were all going to be heard May 31st. Questions on that one? Okay, thank you.
Catherine has a question.
Oh, sorry, Catherine. Are you referring to the last bullet? So that just is saying that they're required to have a 50-foot rear yard, and that addition will occupy 27.2 feet of the rear yard. So it won't be set back 50 feet. It will be set back the difference, which is 23 feet from the rear property boundary. So it will extend or encroach 27 feet into the rear yard. Not the whole house, but this wing, which the purpose of which is to accommodate this therapy pool. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and moving along, we have a finance report that our finance director, Nate, prepared. Did you want to make any comments, Nate? Or did the board have any questions about the report? I'm seeing head shaking that there's no questions about your wonderful report, which compared our current year performance to last year. The general consensus is everything's going quite nicely. There were just some timing issues with receivables, but the board has the report, the public also has the report. So anyone can peruse those, and if they have any questions, let us know. Okay, moving on to Commissioner Hull's section of the agenda. The staff department reports will be put onto the consent agenda, as well as 12, 13, and 14, which are meeting minutes. Item 15 is consideration of a Juneteenth proclamation. Deanna was able to do a lot of research to create this wonderful proclamation. I learned a lot about Juneteenth in reading the proclamation, and the board will take action on that next meeting. Any questions? An exciting project that we have is coming soon to us is an upgrade to our phone systems to bring us into modern times with voice over IP services and lots of services like caller ID and things like that that we currently don't have, which is hard to imagine. Megan has been handling this project and Nate has pitched in as well. They've reviewed a ton of different service vendors and settled on an agreement with Verizon to redo our phones here. So the details of that are in the memo. One point that is not summarized in the memo, but I know will be coming shortly, is the savings that we're going to be, there's significant savings, right, Nate? I don't know if you have it off the top of your head, but I think it's a moment that we could discuss that this is not just something that's costing us money, it has a great return on investment and we're getting better technology. Sorry, I didn't tell you I would want you to talk about this, but then I got excited about it, so. Oh, Megan warned you. Good. See, that's what a good assistant does.
So, good evening, everyone. So, we were able to, with Megan and myself, talk to Verizon, go back with them, and get some better pricing for the township. First of all, because of our relationship with them, we have them for wireless and the different discounts they're offering local governments. We were able to get them to actually bring down the cost of the phones. Typically, the original discount was going to bring the equipment down to $230 a piece. We're actually able to go back to them and get them to offer it to us for $90 a piece. We originally had
we, because was that you, or was that you and Megan?
me and
It was Nate. I am
te-
going to bring Nate with me the next time I try to negotiate a new car purchase. I don't know if you're as good at this in every part of your life, but you do a great job of
I
getting.
was a
incentives
used
to
car
use it.
salesman in college. It did help. So,
Yeah.
we were also able to negotiate a discount off of our monthly bill because we're offering over 50 for phones. Typically, the discount would be $10. We were able to get them to offer us $20 per line discount off. So overall, for this project, originally was budgeted for about $25,000. We're expecting to come in less than half that. So returning that back to the general fund, that is our expectation, as well as further discounts to the bill, which we should see lowering, and they're guaranteeing that price out basically for the next few years for us. So it's controlling our budget for the future, but at the same time offering us more benefits and hopefully furthering a relationship. Any questions?
Good job.
Thank you, Nate. Nate, you always have good news for us.
Knock on wood. We're going to have a flood and a financial crisis based on your comments and my comments. And Megan, thank you, because you were working on this quite a bit as well. So.
Thank you, Megan.
Okay. Next up on the agenda would be Commissioner Carter's section. And there is a decision item for tonight to, oh, Shane's gone.
Oh,
I
we
wish
should've-
we should have put this at the
Right
beginning.
next to each other. then we
Yeah,
could've
but
go on.
to recognize National Emergency Services Week. So I'll throw that back to the commissioners.
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve the proclamation designating May 15th through May 21st, 2022 as National Emergency Services Week? We have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a motion and a second. Do we have any board comments? Do we have any public comments? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
I think coming up next week, we have Police, EMS, and Public Works Week. So if you see a police, EMS, or Public Works employee, tell them thanks and happy
There's like a
happy
week.
Yeah,
apart.
right. It's a big month
Yeah.
for everyone this month.
Yeah.
And I think, is it the Codes Month too, Megan? Is it Codes
Oh,
Month?
Codes
Yeah?
Month too, yes.
We don't want to forget it.
It's a lot of celebrating.
A lot of celebrating our awesome staff this month.
Yes, there is.
Next up is the resolution authorizing the sale of old fire apparatus to Upper Gwynedd Fire Department. We are finally at the point where we're going to take ownership of the new vehicles. They should be here within the next couple of weeks, which is very exciting. The fire department has done so much work to come up with that, but the second piece of that is once we receive those new vehicles, selling our old vehicles. And we're going to sell them to the fire department so that they can market them to the community to purchase. And then that money will also, excuse me, my voice is terrible today, come back to us to offset the price of the new vehicles, like a 1% offset, but it's something, maybe 10%. So that will be for decision at the next meeting. Does anyone have any questions about that? Okay. In Commissioner Damsker's section, there is the authorization to advertise ordinance 2022-03, amending the zoning map classification for 375 Morris Road and setting the hearing date for Tuesday, June 7th. This is a special hearing date. It's outside of our regular advertised June meetings. We wanted to make sure the board had adequate time to listen and consider all of the points on that application. And there's an escrow release for State Street. I drove by State Street last week to see all of the activity, and oh my gosh, it looks like a different place. I don't know if anyone's been there.
Haven't been there yet. I
Yeah,
wanted to.
but they're definitely, I was surprised to see the escrow release come in, and then I was like, wow, they must have gotten further, but it looks good. All right, we have a couple decision items moving into Commissioner McNaney's section, so I will throw those back to the board as well.
Did you want to explain about the bid with the Broad Street? Was that related to Broad Street?
Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. Yeah, this is
Just to let.
a major item.
Yeah.
So this is item number 21 is our road bid for all the road work that we have planned for the township this year. Originally, when we were considering the road work, we were including Broad Street in our road list, but Broad Street is, I think Willard told me like 40 feet. Is that true? It's so wide. It's way,
It's up to 60 feet.
oh, 60
Some
feet.
places, yeah,
Wow.
for the width.
Yeah, it's much wider than most of our typical roads. So Isaac and his firm were smart when they were crafting the bids. They made it an alternate because we weren't sure how that would come in. So the good news is that we can accept almost all of the alternates, but the bad news is we will not be able to pave Broad Street this year. We'll push it to next year. We do have a very aggressive list of road work this year, and we'll be spending over $1 million on road work. So.
You have a lot. Okay. Do we have a motion to approve the award of the base bid, alternate bid number 1, alternate bid number 2, alternate bid number 4, and the total amount of $1,015,000? No, that's wrong.
That's right.
1 million, sorry, I thought that it couldn't be billion. Why did I think that was billion for a minute?
That'll be all the township.
One,
We're paving everything.
$1,015,593 to James D. Morrissey Incorporated.
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a motion and a second. Do we have any board comments? Do we have any public comments? All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, the next item that we're looking for a decision on, just to move forward with being able to sell these pieces of equipment, is we are looking, the motion should actually be to advertise the selling of 5 pieces of parks and recreation equipment on Municipid. Municipid is a public bidding website that we can use similar to an auction, but we still have to follow all the municipal regulations regarding selling of our equipment. So the board would have to authorize that advertisement, and then we would list the items for sale and see where we come in on the auction. The good news is, we've retired these pieces of equipment, so pretty much it's going to be great to get some return on that old equipment.
Do we have a motion to approve the advertising of the selling of 5 pieces of park and rec equipment on Municipid?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a motion and a second. Do we have any board comments?
I have one. Megan, can you put up the memo there? I think it's amazing that we were able to keep some of these as long as we have. The 2000 Chevy 350, 3500, is that what it says? Yeah. And the 1973. Yeah. So I think that speaks a lot for how we take care of equipment and use it. And so replacing it in 2022, I think is excellent. So good work to the people that maintain our equipment.
Yeah, I know that Roger does a ton of work on our equipment in our Public Works Department, and as well as the park maintenance staff maintain their equipment. And it's a pride of ownership. The taxpayers own the equipment, but our staff do an awesome job maintaining it.
Do we have any public comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Next week, or it's actually not next week, it's in 2 weeks. Just important to note the difference in our schedule in May. We're delayed a bit, so the meeting will be the 24th, I think.
Yes.
So the board will be considering the approval of the bid for equipment rental for stormwater projects to Floyd Hirsch in the amount of $309,800. This covers multiple different stormwater projects that we'll be doing in the township. We also have the resolution 16-2022 piggybacking with Gwynedd Township for our microsurfacing. This is another action that we take every year that will have a list of roads that will be microsurfaced, and we save some considerable funding by piggybacking with another municipality on their bid. It's a great example of municipal cooperation. And we have 7 roads that'll be microsurfaced. If you don't know what microsurfacing is, we have some great resources in past newsletters, and I think through some social media posts, which we will do in advance of the microsurfacing, because it can be sort of a surprise for residents when it comes along into their neighborhoods. But it has a great cost savings for the township and really lengthens the lifespan of our roadways. And then finally, in Commissioner McNaney's section is the approval of the 2022 concession stand lease agreement with Boston Style Pizza. Sarah is recommending a change to that contract just based on the impact of COVID-19 on restaurants. And I'm sure the board has seen the memo, and speaking with the owners of Boston Style, I think it makes sense to make this change until revenues pop back up to where they used to be. In Commissioner Similaro's section, we have ratification of a contract with Riordan Materials. I did go ahead and sign that contract in advance of the board considering this. This is one of those time-sensitive items for the wastewater treatment plant. It was part of the recent budget amendment, but it did come in under budget, so that's good news through CoStar's vendor, about $300,000 under budget. But I think we'll find a way. It's pretty easy to spend $300,000 in wastewater, unfortunately, and we have plenty of things to do there. So we're tracking that budget amendment internally and making sure we utilize it in the best way possible.
Great.
And then lastly, next week, or in 2 weeks, you will have the open and paid invoices.
Great. Did anybody on the board have anything else? No? Okay, before we go, I have something really super brief. I just had to do a shout out to the beautiful newsletter that our team worked so hard on. If you haven't gotten it in your mail and you want to pick up a copy, or maybe you just didn't check in your mail, it's really, it's extra beautiful this time, I believe. I believe it's very engaging. I believe it has a lot of great information. That's great to know, things you don't even know, things that you don't even think you need to know that you do need to know. And I think that the whole aesthetic of it is just very appealing, and I'm so proud of it. Several people have reached out to me, different residents, some residents in North Wales, asking more about it, giving us compliments about it. And so I just wanted tonight, really briefly, I know we've had a long meeting already, but I just wanted to say thank you to some of the people who have worked so hard on this. It's a lot of people that come together. It's a lot of moving pieces that come together so beautifully. And I wanted to say thank you to Susan McKnight from the police department. I wanted to say thank you to Suzanne Stanley from our admin department. I wanted to say thank you to Sarah Priebus and Leah Getty from the Park and Rec department. I wanted to say thank you to Van Rieker and Dan Quimby from our planning and code enforcement department. I wanted to say thank you to our fire chief, Eric Geiger, from our fire department. I wanted to say thank you to Joanne Walker from our EAC, to Deb Stone from our HRC, to Mike Zampino from our UGCA, and to Harry Singer from our pool commission. If I forgot anybody, did I forget anybody else, Deanna? And the biggest thank you that I would like to give for this whole group goes to the queen of it all, who somehow keeps all these pots boiling and keeps everybody on task with it, and then has the vision of it the whole time. So she brings it together and creates this masterpiece. And that would be our own Deanna Logan, who very quietly over there doesn't take any credit for it, but really is the mastermind behind the whole thing. So I just wanted to do a big shout out to all of them and thank them. Thank you. And with that being said, if there's nothing else, thank you so much for coming, everybody. Have a great evening. Meeting adjourned.